the path of light, where every step is clear. No underground deceits can touch a heart sincere. Evil hides in shadows, whispers lies that blind, but where the glow shines brightest, it frees the captive mind. Darkness calls with hidden snares, trying to pull me down, but the light within me rises up. I claim my throne of sound. Walk in the light and feel your spirit rise. No evil in the underground can sever holy ties. Let the beast become your guide, the blaze within your soul. In the flash of neon radiance, the righteous take control. Lost no more in darkened schemes, I stand where truth is found. Under strobing rays of brilliance, every lie falls down.
I know the head of IDAC has given evidence in the past few days, and it was interesting to hear from her. She is the head of IDAC. Her name is Andrea Johnson. Johnson, whose husband is works at the crime intelligence, meaning Andrea Johnson husband reports to General, not direct report, but also is under General Khumalo. So we understand that there's some rogue units, as they say, within crime intelligence that they are trying to clean up. But from the evidence that we heard from Andrea Johnson is that they have witnesses in terms of the cases that were opened by Mr. Adams. In terms of Mr. Adams, let's check what he was alleged to have done. So Mr. Adams, from our web, what we heard is that he has access to some sensitive or covert information. And also he used that to open cases against Khumalo and other colleagues that works with Khumalo. So it's an interesting thing, because now we're trying to know how did he get hold of that covert information. And also, as Mkhwanazi argued, that Mr. Adams was supposed to have took that information, given that the sensitivity of the information, and presented it to the committee of police. They have way of dealing with this in Parliament, where it's not shared with the public, because it might cause panic. But interestingly, of lately, we then have to hear from Miss Andre. So she talked about how the process at the IDAC work, and she mentioned that the cases around Khumalo were brought through by Mr. Adams, and one needs to have a section 27 affidavit in order for them to start investigating. So yeah, as you read in terms of how they start working on a case, they say any person may report a matter to the head of IDAC by means of an affidavit, section 27, and the direct, in the absence of the case assessment report, may authorize an investigation into the matter if there is a reasonable grounds to suspect that an offense has been committed, which is section 8, subsection 2, and whether if the offense is a specified crime which is defined in the NPA Act as any matter which is, in the opinion of the head of IDAC, falls within the range of matters is set out of proclamations, serious and high-level corruption matters can be directed to IDAC. So, from what we heard from Mrs. Andre or Advocate Johnson is that the reason that Khumalo and his colleagues were arrested was because of a corrupt appointment of Mrs. Mukwele, and we know that Mrs. Mukwele is a qualified mechatronics. She's qualified mechatronics, and she's an industrial engineer here, and also she has extensive work experience working in dealerships such as BMW on electronics stuff related. As you know, that mechatronics, it's a profession where you mix mechanical stuff and electronics. It has to do with some coding, so those type of skills, it's the skills that General Khumalo explains at the commission what they were looking for when they were hiring Mrs. Mukwele. But also, I'll just try to find that video by General Khumalo at the Nhlanhla Commission, just to make sure that we cover the picture with evidence of what I'm saying. It's not a hearsay. So yeah, so this is the same Advocate Johnson that charged General Khumalo. No, they're just explaining about the head of crime IDAC. But yeah, this is an interesting videos. I want you guys to hear.
Paragraph.
I want you guys to hear this video, because this video it touches up on the crime that General Khumalo and his other colleagues were arrested for. It was relating to hiring Mrs. Mukwele, as mentioned. Let's listen to this clip. It's gonna take around 8 minutes.
Concerning the appointment of Brigadier Mukwele, who used to work for BMW before her appointment. Am I correct that she was appointed directly from BMW?
That is correct.
To be a brigadier in SAPS?
That is correct, Commissioner.
What were the advertised requirements for the position?
We were looking for the head of our technical support services. Without detailing it that much, so as we don't expose our covert methodologies, but it's a person, firstly, who's qualified in mechatronics, a person who can combine both mechanical engineering and electronical engineering to suit our covert activities needs. So those people are normally found then in these environments, like BMW or Ford, because they are doing both electronical and mechanical engineering, or qualified, and they have experience.
Was she based at the manufacturing plant, not at a dealership?
I cannot be able to be quite sure in terms of the separation, but what I know is she was a supervisor of technicians that are doing mechanical and electronic work in the manufacturing part of the car.
And so do you say that she met the advertised requirements?
According to us as the panel that recommended her as candidate number one, she did meet all the requirements.
Thank you, General.
General, I had a question on this, which is the appointment was made from someone outside of the SAPS into the SAPS, and the appointee was given the status of a brigadier, which is, as I understand it from the rankings, fairly senior. And would it be, can you explain how somebody from outside of the police service with no experience in policing would be brought into the service and given a fairly senior rank from the outset?
Yes. No, thank you, Commissioners. I won't be long on that. I'll first refer to my response when the Commissioner asked as to what were we looking for. We were looking for a qualified mechatronics person, not a police officer like me. My experience and qualifications were irrelevant to the post. So we first advertised the post internally, and then the process moved on until the panel by then could not find a suitable candidate, which is a policy within SAPS. And then that panel recommended for the post to be advertised externally, so as then we can get people that are qualified for the work that for the person that you are looking for. That's how then once the post is externally advertised, it's not only limited to brigadiers and generals. There are posts that are advertised on newspapers of a qualified Reverend Muruti. And those people, then, because we are not Barutis, police officers, then a Muruti who's qualified and registered with a particular Baruti organization then will apply and qualify, come in and be given that rank that was advertised. So in the police, it's not something that does not happen. We have a lot of senior officers that came in from the level of a brigadier. Some, they came in from a level of a major general. Not, or maybe let me make one example, the living example. The current divisional commissioner at the level of a lieutenant general, who is a lieutenant general, is from the National Treasurer Department. 2 years ago was appointed by SAPS as a divisional commissioner, who is a lieutenant general. It's another fresh example that we can see, because SAPS was looking for particular qualifications and experience that SAPS could not find within SAPS.
So the Lieutenant General you are referring to had no policing background whatsoever?
Not at all. He was, I think, after 2 years of being employed, he was then sent to a basic police training, which is normally not for like a full period, because you are called a lateral entry level and you are a senior officer. So you will just go there and get the basics so as you are able to know how to salute.
So this post was advertised at the level of a brigadier?
Of a brigadier, yes.
General, about just one question about the bail issue. Your bail condition is that you may not go to the office. Do your bail conditions prohibit you from speaking to members of the intelligence division, of crime intelligence?
I was hoping that
I'm not asking you to explain in full. I'm not asking you to give an explanation. I just want to know whether your bail conditions include that you may not speak to employees.
No, it does not, Commissioner. Talk to speaking.
Yes.
The only condition is we must not go to our offices to do our crime intelligence work.
Yes.
We can do whatever other work as long as it's not crime intelligence.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So you heard it from Khumalo why they hired Mrs. Mukweli, but I just want to look for a video of Mrs. Johnson as she was talking about IDAC's work and what's happening there and the reason why Khumalo was arrested, and because she stated that they were arrested for corruption, fraud, and things like that. And she went further that Mrs. Mukwele was put in that position so that in case, so that she can pay back one day when General Khumalo and other people who hired him tell her to do certain stuff regarding to the position she is in. And they say that position, it's position which is near the slush funds. They call it the secret fund. So the contestation here, I think it's around this money, because that was my key takeaway, that they say that person has access to this money, they can buy devices for listening and what. All I'm hearing it's crime intelligence, devices, money, none are not accounted for. And then she went to propose that the Director General, the Auditor General needs to have access in auditing this money. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting because we have here one of the workers that work under Mrs. Johnson at IDAC is close to Mr. McBride. And Mr. McBride here, we see him in a picture with the person who opened the case against this, colleagues of Mr. Khumalo, even Khumalo himself. So he's from state agency. I'm asking a question that because the state agency also, they have their own slush fund account, which they can buy whatever, but we haven't heard or seen any fruits of their work. Things happen in this country, the president is always shocked, and it would be interesting to hear if Mr. President, he does have any meetings with these guys, because he took the state agency to his own office, but he's always shocked about things happening in the country. So yeah, it's very interesting, but let's see what this video is about.
11 of 2017, which deals with the appointments to posts in the SMS, where it sets out appropriate managerial experience, competence, and suitable, which means suitability of candidate, amongst other relevant factors to be considered by the selection panels. 12.4, that the selection panel was chosen by accused 1, and it comprised of accused 1, which is Lieutenant General Khumalo, as the chairperson, and other panel members, which were the co-accused. And if we can go to paragraph 12.7, so that I don't waste time, it was discovered that accused 1 and 5 accused 5 being one Sydney Zwelithini Gabela, and I can mention the name only because it is there in the charge sheet, which is a public document, are well known to each other, as is evident because accused 1, in applying for his security clearance, had the person as a reference. And we say that so that throughout you are able to see how the accused group themselves in a manner that sought to circumvent the processes. And by putting themselves in a specific grouping, they knew what they wanted to achieve. They knew which person they wanted must get the post, and that is what the witnesses will tell us. 12.8, accused 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, acting in concert, shortlisted 5 candidates, 2 who were from within TSS, which is the crime intelligence environment, 3 from outside SAPS. And then they seek to do a few things, and I'll only mention 1 or 2, but accused 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 made misrepresentations about some of the candidates' knowledge, skill, and experience, and misrepresented in their report for the recommendations that all 5 candidates meet the requirements of the post. In fact, at 12.12, accused 7 submitted false and misleading information in her application and curriculum vitae. And 1213, misrepresentations were also made by the accused with regards to the vetting application by accused number 7, resulting in her getting a security clearance she was not qualified to get. And at 1214, accused 1 to 6 abused the authority vested in them by willfully disregarding and not complying with the SAPS National Instruction 10 of 2017, and in concert awarded a gratification as per the definition of gratification in the Corruption Act, which talks to a form of employment, to accused 7 in the form of employment without just and reasonable cause at the expense of other duly qualified, experienced, and skilled senior officers of SAPS.
So you hear from Ms. Johnson the reasons that she is arresting Khumalo and other 6 accused. So from this audio you can hear that I suspect there are some people within crime intelligence that they wanted to get that post, and Khumalo, because they wanted someone from outside with certain skills like mechatronics, because of the kind of investigation they want to do, those people were not happy. And we know that Mrs. Johnson, her husband, is part of is part of crime intelligence. It would be interesting to hear if he applied for that post, because they say there's other senior people who were supposed to get that, or it was Mr. Khan. I don't know, but it's very, very interesting to observe. But another story that's interesting is this gentleman who is IDAC National Head of Operations. He is the one who arrested General Khumalo, and it is alleged that he was kidnapped last night. His cell phones were stolen and his work laptop. But as always, South African are not buying that story. That story is not flying here. There you see that part I was talking about, where they show Miss Sesoko, who arrested General Khumalo at the airport, is alleged to be the best friend of Robert McBride, and McBride also there. They're having some chat. So no. Proper investigation into what's happening need to be done. But the country's fight against corruption has been shaken by the abduction of Ms. Sesoko, the head of operations. So yeah, this is news that are making waves currently. You can see everyone, Daily Mavericks, everyone's just, yeah. But the South Africans are not shaken. They suspect that these might be staged as the Brown Mkhwanazi situation, so that should the PKTT or the police try to fetch the conversation between this guy, because he is the one who needs to he needs to also testify, because he was the investigator and also the one who arrested Khumalo after his boss, and he needs to testify. So it seems like they're staging everything to make sure that the communication links between him and Adams, of which maybe his boss is not aware of, that are wrong, are exposed. But yeah, things are not looking good. It's not giving, guys. You can see I smell a red with this kidnapping of IDAC, head of investigation operations. People are not believing these stories, but the news agencies are posting about it. Here is IDAC has confirmed the kidnapping incident involving Matthew Sesoko with following statement. Interestingly, of interest is that yesterday the head of IDAC, she mentioned that there was death threats after General Mkhwanazi spoke in July on that press conference, and she's against that press conference also. She says there was no need for that press conference. Mr. Mkhwanazi should have just called IDAC and find out what's really happening. And yeah, they say there's some cases that are being investigated of General Masemola and Mkhwanazi, but they don't have full evidence of yet. So yeah, so she painted a picture that there's no disagreement or there's no fighting with the other parties or other colleagues, but it's very, very, very interesting. Also, she was asked in terms of that section 27 how it works, and yeah, it's a very interesting procedure to because some believe that they say Mr. Adams put his own affidavit on in December, but also he was asked to put another affidavit in January, so which is not making sense, or whether the investigation was made without a proper affidavit, and if that was the case, why was it allowed?
Actually reporting it to you. He was a colonel and became a general only because in my time in the broader NPA, we were working with crime intelligence, and so you.
And also, the MKP asked him about her role when his husband interviewed in job interview where she was part of the panel. They say she says she excused herself, but which is not fair on other panelists or the other interviewee who attended, because they would be interviewed by 5 people instead of, for his husband, let's say 4 people. So you could see that there's different even at the end, and his husband was the person who got the job at the end. That's why people are talking about double standards around this issue of this lady, of Mr. Johnson.
We have not invited you here. We invited the head of the NPA. And upon reading our letter, she wrote back and said, IDAC says she wants to come to you. What is it that was so itching you that you wanted us to know as this ad hoc committee of parliament? We have not invited you here.
Yeah, so she volunteered, came to the ad hoc committee so far, and yeah. But, another story, it was that you remember Mkhwanazi in July mentioned that IDAC is divided. There are functions within IDAC. Ms. Johnson said there's no rogue elements or there are no factions within IDAC. Julius Malema asked her a question around the people that General Mkhwanazi says they are his sources, if those guys are not rogue elements within IDAC. my understanding of that question, it was a reverse engineering question, because you have someone, she says IDAC doesn't have any rogue elements, and yeah, she refuses. But when a question was asked in a different way, that those that give Mkhwanazi information are rogue, she then agrees that they are rogue. So which then Julius continued to ask that if those are rogue, then why did you not investigate that rogue so that you can understand what's happening, and also you could fix your office of any rogue? And she says no, they didn't have any evidence. They did not have to look into that.
The issue of your husband should...
This is a video Malema is complimenting her. Just want to look into the one they were asking about the rogue elements within IDAC. Yeah, you can see the people are saying Malema is a snake because he complimented Mr. Johnson that Winnie Mandela did not die, she multiplied. And for me, I understood it as in a point of that she is a woman in leadership. And last week we also had the Deputy Minister of Police. She mentioned that she is the only woman who went in front of the Adhoc committee so far, and some of the things might be challenging for her in terms of responding the way people want. So I understood it in a way that, yeah, it might not be easy to come to the Adhoc committee, but she did, and she's representing other women. And the same way, the same fearless spirit of Winnie Mandela, of fighting for justice and standing for women, it's been seen within this Advocate Johnson. But people are saying Malema, it's wrong for that.
The issue of your husband should never put you in a difficult situation where you start doubting your capabilities and your capacity. Sitting here, for me, this is quality leadership coming from a black woman. You answer questions properly, you give us information well articulate. There will be more challenges. They come inherently with being a female leader. We all have issues that we might not have handled properly. It's part of growth. It's part of becoming more experienced and then dealing with matters differently going forward. And when you live here, this should never, I had to think I'm very angry, it must never be one of the issues that are going to distract you from fighting crime and fighting corruption. You came here, we shared that information with you. On a hindsight means I'm more clever now, and you should take it in that spirit and continue to fight. I thought Winnie Mandela died, but Winnie Mandela is multiplied. Thank you very much.
I received. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a video that caused people to be angry at Malema, because I think people already have their own predetermined judgment around this. They have classified IDAC as being captured and part of the cartel, and anyone who says anything different from General Mkhwanazi and Khumalo, they are seen as the rogue or people of interest.
Honorable Malema, there were 2 cases that are already in court. The first case relates to the criminal allegations against Chief Financial Officer Major General Lushaba of Crime Intelligence. That was the first matter that was enrolled. And then a little over 2 weeks later, the matter relating to Lieutenant General Khumalo and the 6 other accused was enrolled. There are 4 other investigations that have yet to be enrolled because those investigations are not yet complete, but they arise out of that Section 27 referral. I hope I've provided clarity.
So, in those cases, do you find the name of General Mkhwanazi in there and the National Commissioner being part of the referrals that were sent to?
In terms of the Section 27 referral by Mr. Adams, I can tell you that I don't recall being briefed or seen in the referral itself for the authorization the name of General Mkhwanazi. And also with regards to the National Commissioner, I haven't seen his name other than, I guess, as the investigations progress. And to be very honest with you, Honorable Malema, I haven't had a briefing as of recent, so I cannot tell you about the National Commissioner and whether or not his name does appear.
But there was a story that there is prima facie evidence that is in your position against Mkhwanazi and the National Commissioner, and you are reluctant to charge. And if that is the case, will that not be defeating the end of justice if there is an overwhelming or prima facie evidence before you and you are reluctant to charge because of certain names, irrespective of who they are?
So to be clear, Honorable Chair and members, those allegations do not come out of the Section 27 referral. When I took over as the head, as the ID, there were already corruption matters that had initially fallen within the ambit of IPID. Those IPID investigators, when they were brought over to the ID at the time, came with their cases.
Are you okay, Honorable?
No, she was still responding to my question.
You will indicate if you are...
It's not me, it's the honorable member from Eastern Cape.
May I be allowed to finish, and then if Honorable Nhlanhla will then be allowed to ask. Thank you, Chair. So those allegations do not arise out of the referral. They were corruption allegations that were initially reported at IPID. IDAC is not afraid to act. We can only act when we have sufficient evidence. And just because there's a complaint doesn't make a criminal charge. And that is why where we are at, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and General Masemola have not been arrested for those matters.
As you hear, it's interesting. The point that I mentioned that General Masemola and General Mkhwanazi also, they were rumored to be arrested after General Khumalo. And they mentioned that should that press conference not happen, they were going to be arrested maybe after that week. So yeah, it's another interesting thing to observe. But I saw some video by the MKP asking Johnson some interesting question. I also want to play it before we close this video.
You said Babu Mkhwanazi, General Mkhwanazi, he must be careful. Le nto ayikhulumile has cost people lives. You said that, right?
That is correct.
Whose lives are those?
So, in terms of the use of the word, and maybe I used the wrong word, it cost people their livelihoods. I correct myself. It cost people their livelihoods because those words were used very loosely within the ambit of SAPS. And there is evidence and testimony to where people were victimized and lost their livelihoods. I correct the word of lives.
Did he mention names of those people, Uruti, this person and this person, they are a rock unit?
I don't get the question.
Did he mention names of those people? Did Mkhwanazi mention names when he said there's a rock unit?
With an IDAC?
Yes, wherever he said there's a rock unit.
I don't recall whether he mentioned names, honorable member.
So this goes back to the point about the rogue unit. As I mentioned, that she says there is no rogue unit at IDAC, but Malema went and asked her if those who are feeding General Mkhwanazi with information, are they rogue? She said yes. And so I'm struggling to find that video, but that it's an interest.
Well, in your IDAC, it's above reproach. It's only SAPS where we have.
Okay, guys. Thank you for joining in. I think we'll leave it from here. I'm not finding the video that I'm looking for, but I think the message is at the end of the day is that I think it's rejecting the notion that they are compromised and they are part of a syndicate. So as things stand so far, we wait to see the other witnesses that will come through next week, just to hear their side of story regarding this inquiry. But it's a very interesting thing to observe, yeah.
He was a colonel and became a general only because in my time in the broader NPA, we were working with crime intelligence, and so you get to hear about people. But that was never an issue that was brought to the fore or raised, nor was it in the time of IDAC.
All right, so even if there's smoke, you won't respond to it. Are there no other ways of you detecting or getting involved in any cases other than a case actually or lead or someone actually reporting it to you? Because this is rife within SAPS. Irregular appointments, it's very, very rife. This is not a single matter, and you acted quite swiftly on this. Based on the fact that there's factions within crime intelligence, here you have, there's two factions, right? Here you have this one general that you have pursued swiftly, well done, and you have someone else that you haven't done anything about. You're aware of his appointment, but you haven't done anything about it.
On a point of correction, Honorable James, I said I was aware that at a stage, General Khan was a colonel, and through the course of our work, heard that he had become a general. I am not aware of what process was followed or not followed, and at the time, I was not in IDAC.
Okay, now that it has been brought to your attention, will you be investigating it, his appointment?
Someone kindly send us a Section 27 referral. That is our intake mechanism. It's not something I can run away from. It does not mean that we are running away from accountability. So if there's a Section 27 referral and there's something to be investigated, it most certainly will be investigated.
You also mentioned earlier.
So you have heard it, South Africans. Please go and submit those Section 27 affidavit for any crime that you want IDAC to investigate. There's a lot of them. Mr. Adams has done his part. They are investigating Khumalo and his other colleagues that were arrested on the appointment of Mrs. Mukwele. So, as we hear that Mr. Khan also he was appointed, he was wrongfully appointed, and Mr. Khan, I also have him here, who is alleged to have connection with our Brown Mkhwanazi, so he does have connection also is seen at the EFF function. So that's Feroz Khan, who was a colonel and promoted to a general, which is suspicious from honorable member when they are questioning. So yeah, there's a lot out of this, but yeah, here is a closing video of Miss Andre on her famous video that's been circulating on the internet for some time.
Recording of Andrea Johnson suggests she was asking her team to act the part, even if the files were empty.
I asked that everybody go to court because you are a team. But we asked that everyone be dressed to the nines, and they were dressed to the nines. And I asked that they carry those file boxes, you know, that you carry with your files, and make sure the spines are all marked, even if there's nothing in the file.
Is that the NPA strategy? Fake it till you make it?
Whether it's accurately quoted or not, I don't know. Who your source is?
We can play you the video.
Okay.
I just hope they had something in the files. But they looked the formidable team. And sometimes, colleagues, that is half the battle. Is look the part, you end up being the part, you end up playing the part.
Recording of Andrea Johnson suggests she was asking her team to act the part, even if the files were empty.
I asked that everybody go to court because you are a team. But we asked that everyone be dressed to the nines, and they were dressed to the nines. And I asked that they carry those file boxes, you know, that you carry with your files, and make sure the spines are all marked, even if there's nothing in the file.
Is that the NPA strategy? Fake it till you make it?
Whether it's accurately quoted or not, I don't know. Who your source is?
We can play you the video.
Okay.
I just hope they had something in the files. But they looked the formidable team. And sometimes, colleagues, that is half the battle. Is look the part, you end up being the part, you end up playing the part.
Recording of Andrea Johnson suggests she was asking her team to act the part, even if the files were empty.
I asked that everybody go to court because you are a team. But we asked that everyone be dressed to the nines, and they were dressed to the nines. And I asked that they carry those file boxes, you know, that you carry with your files, and make sure the spines are all marked, even if there's nothing in the file.
Is that the NPA strategy? Fake it till